Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesdays with True, and it is me, your man, True Pettigrew. Thank you guys, as always, for joining, for checking in, and hopefully you guys are off to a great start to a great week. Last week was a rough week for all of us in this country, and I want to talk a little bit today about on the topic of building bridges. And this segment may take a little longer than the 2 or 3 minutes. Hopefully I can fit it all in, but there's a lot that I want to share in this message today, so hopefully you guys can bear with me. I want to start by offering a little bit of a story. So about 2 years ago, I remember it was August of 2014 because it was shortly after the Michael Brown incident, after Michael Brown. And I remember being so upset, just so frustrated, just so tired and just drained with the incidents that were taking place with our law enforcement and the African American community, particularly our young black males. And much like many of you felt then, I felt like I just had to do something. And much like many of us feel right now, right? We have to do something. And so I remember being so fed up that I just went down to my local police department and said, hey, I need to talk to somebody. I need to meet someone because I live in Cary, North Carolina, and Cary is a predominantly white community, really, real nice community. We love it here. And I have a 4-year-old son. My wife and I have a 4-year-old son who was 2 at the time. And one of my biggest concerns, more than being frustrated, I was concerned. I was concerned because I had a young black boy that was going to be growing up in this community that I didn't want him to have to, or I didn't want him to end up being a news story, similar to what we were seeing due to a case of mistaken identity or something like that. In a very case where I almost lost my own life years ago when I was in my 20s living in L.A. I'm walking out of a convenience store. Officers just throw me to the ground, gun to my head, knee in my back. I have no idea why and what's going on. And, case of mistaken identity, right? But that's a whole nother story. But that gave me images, that and other incidents, gave me images and perceptions of law enforcement that I carried with me. And so living here in Cary and having a son that I was raising here, I didn't want him to have to go through the same thing. So my thinking was, look, I want them to know who my son is. I want the local law enforcement to know who Austin is. I want them to know who I am, to minimize minimum stakes, to minimize or eliminate the cases of mistaken identity. If Austin were to get into some type of trouble or to get in some type of mischief, as young boys do, I wanted the option of knowing that, hey, that they would walk up to him and be like, hey, Austin, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, dude. You know better than this. I'm going to call you dad, right? Just having a sense of familiarity. So I went down there and introduced myself. And I consider it very fortunate and a blessing that the officer that I was directed to, the Sergeant of Community Services for the Cary Police Department, Sergeant Jeremy Bergen, who I now refer to as JB, my man JB, I was well received. JB received me with open arms, open mind, and an open heart. And we began sharing and exchanging information, and it led to him inviting me to participate in a program and initiative that Cary had already had underway called Building Bridges that would allow the Cary Police Department to really form relationships and more meaningful relationships with the police department and the members of their diverse communities and ethnic and culturally diverse communities, starting with the African American community because that's where the need existed the most. And throughout that, I've learned so much on the art of building bridges from the relationship that has been established with the Cary Police Department. And it almost has become a mantra that we have is frequency breeds familiarity and familiarity breeds trust. Because the biggest issue was lack of trust, and getting to know these men and women and allowing them to get to know me and other members of the community, now that allows us to have a level of trust that quite honestly wasn't there before. So I'm saying all this to say at the end of the day, this is about us being able to hold each other accountable for our actions, choices, decisions, and behaviors all the way around. And unless you are in a relationship with someone, it is virtually impossible to hold them accountable. So I know we're all frustrated with what's going on in this country, and a lot of you are doing some things. Some of you have reached out and expressed to me that you want to do something but do not know what to do. So please reach out to me. Reach out to me in the comments on this post, or on Twitter or Instagram, whatever. My email, reach out to me, and I will be happy to help you get involved with a national initiative that we're working on that can help build these bridges across the country and across different disciplines. And one of the things that I learned in this relationship, or a couple of the things that I learned in this relationship, is one, it really requires us to be in relationship to hold each other accountable. And two, build the bridges. It's important that we build these bridges across all the different communities and institutions that exist that impact and affect our society. And it's important to understand why you're building that bridge, or that it won't be effective. It's also important to understand what that bridge needs to be made of. It needs to be extremely durable, because it's going to have to test some harsh weather, right? And sometimes we have to understand that we have to be the bridge. And when we make a choice and a decision to be the bridge, we also have to understand that when you decide to be a bridge, sometimes you're going to get walked on. So you're going to get some resistance. You're going to get some pushback. There are going to be some haters. There are going to be people that don't understand. But you have to stand fast and stand firm and continue to build those bridges. Sometimes it's going to require that you knock down some walls first. But you're going to have to stand firm and be consistent in doing the work to build those bridges. Because unless we do that, we're never really going to get to a place of resolution, which is where we need to be. It's going to require that we have the tough and the hard conversations, but we have to stand firm and resolute and consistent and committed to building those bridges. And so I'll just leave you with this, and this is something that I stand on, a promise in the scripture that I stand on. It keeps me committed, is that it's Galatians 6:9. Do not grow weary of doing good work, because in your time, in your proper season, you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. Look, guys, giving up is not an option, right? So let's continue to do the work and build these bridges so that we can hold each other accountable for our actions and behaviors all the way around. And it's a fine line between accountability and judgment, but let's just remember that when we hold each other accountable, that makes us all better. But when we begin to judge each other, that makes us all bitter. So let's come together and make each other better. I love you guys. I hope this message touched and spoke to someone today. And if you want to do something and you don't know what to do, please hit me up, and I will be happy to get you involved in some of the work that we're doing. Take care.